left, the audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. Program reality, double thing duality, a boot upon the face of all mankind. Our numbers up and the dead for a time. Go along to get along. Hypnotized by the siren song. The flames are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The horde's upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait your turn. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's best. Worldwide genocide. The overlords are hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. A pile of bodies rotten, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. It's safer not to talk about it. I cut my strings, no more bowing to the masters. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve. Let's go to the main camera. Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's February the 13th, 2022. We're here with you. It's 10:05 p.m. As always, we're here live at 10 with some interesting conversation. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by Tim. And we, again, want to thank you. We reached a couple of interesting numbers on our channel here. We mentioned in previous episodes that once you made it to episode 21, after you've released 21 episodes, you are actually in the top 1 percentile of all podcasts of all time as far as content produced. So we passed that milestone a couple of episodes ago. Since then, we've actually hit 3,000 views on our channel. We have over 600 hours of people have watched over 600 hours of our content. We have put out a total of 20. This is our 23rd episode tonight. So we really want to thank you for joining us. The channel is gaining a little bit of traction. We're up to 76 subscribers. I've noticed when I was going through our data that we actually have about 35 people that join us for every episode and generally watch the whole episode. Now this will, yeah, and we really thank you all for joining us. We have a lot of people that find their way to the channel by means of episode 3 that we did about the feral humans of Appalachia. So if you've found us from that video and you may not be from this area, we're in Carter County, Tennessee. We want to thank you for joining us. The channel's called the Iron Mountain Hour because we're actually filming this from the Iron Mountain. Camera 1 looks like it's getting a little glitchy there. Let's
switch it up here to my mustache shot.
Yeah, switch it up a little bit.
All right, folks, you ready to see my untamed mustache?
And we're not getting camera number 2, so let's get that fixed here.
Let's go super glitch then?
Yeah, I'll try to get it going here.
Get this meat. Oh, well. So I kind of like it when it does this, like,
there we go.
I can't decide if it's like Matrixy or it's just more like The Grudge when she comes up the stairs, the whole jerky, because it doesn't look intimidating. It just makes me look creepy or goofy.
There we go. I think we're a little better there. So as I was saying, we reached over 600 hours. We got 35 people that watch us regularly. Last week's episode. Yeah, we didn't do an interview per se. We just had Tim and Dustin and I hanging out and chatting a little bit about some observations about the world. Nothing really profound, but we thought we had a good conversation. But in any case, we wanted to get back onto some of the interesting topics this time. So tonight, we're going to be talking about symbolism, ritual symbolism that is present in the Super Bowl and maybe other places too. We'll see where the conversation goes. But we also wanted to mention a couple of local Tennessee news stories. So we'll probably go ahead and jump into the Super Bowl stuff first, and then get to the local stuff towards the end of the video. That way, if you're joining us, from another area, we can talk about something that we all have in common, and we can all look at rather than something that's hyper local and just for our local listeners and viewers. And speaking of listeners, I'm going to get us set up on podcast format so that I know a lot of people like to listen to things like this. I like to listen to my podcasts at work for the most part, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. So we'll try to get this set up to where you can listen on iTunes, Google Podcasts. I think it's Stitcher and Spotify.
I'm a butthole.
Yeah.
So I use Podbean.
Well, I think that you should still be able to use Podbean because
I'm pretty sure if you go through like just a subscription service, like kind of like when I do like music, it's CD Baby. And they've kind of got it set up to where you have to either use CD Baby or, well, I think, DistroKid or whatever.
I use DistroKid, and then...
Yeah, if you don't use that, it's super tedious, and you have to go... Or it's pretty affordable just to...
Easy Disc or something like that, too, I use.
So I'm pretty sure for podcasting and stuff, there's a service that you could find that would just put it on everything. Yeah. And it would be way easier and less time-consuming. So I don't know much about it, but I have to believe that sort of thing exists.
That's the program called Anchor. Okay. Puts it on to Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. So I'm sure you can get that through Podbean. And I like to use Castbox for my podcasts. It's a pretty good app. So we'll see if it puts it there too. But in any case, we're going to be giving you ways to listen to us without the video. If you're not able to sit down and watch a whole YouTube show live Sunday night at 10 o'clock, then you can take it to work with you. So I think that'll be a good addition to the show.
I think, I guess something I didn't consider early on, I guess we should have considered sooner, is the communities that go with stuff. Like, I think Spotify is not really a community. I think that's Spotify and Apple's like something everybody uses. But like YouTube's kind of you either have a community, like you're either on YouTube and you have like subscriptions and stuff, or you really don't use YouTube that much. And I didn't really realize that was a thing because I use YouTube more than I use other things. So there you go, users bias or whatever. So I think getting it on some podcasting formats would be good.
I think so too. And YouTube, it really is a convenient and very usable platform. It's user friendly, and even for all its faults since Google has taken it, it's still a usable product, and it's still something that
Hmm.
is
Well, I started to see some. If you go what's called I guess the YouTube community, which is I guess the people that are on there way too much, like me. You could see some of the cracks forming in the YouTube, I guess, company early on, or I guess about 10 years ago, really. But one of the things I started noticing is, I guess your normal people didn't notice it until like Taylor Swift, I think, pulled her stuff from Spotify, you know. Artists have been doing some stuff like that for a while. Like you'll see artists have stuff on one platform and then on another. Like, for example, you can't find anything except live videos of Jimi Hendrix on YouTube because it gets yanked really, really quickly. But you can find his whole archive very neatly organized on all the major ones, just not on YouTube at all. Because a lot of those old classic artists, especially the dead ones,
yeah.
their people really come after the catalog and they'll enforce it. So there's been a rift for a little while, so we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Well, while I was doing some of the research for today's show to try to get I was going to try to use a few short clips of some of the Super Bowl halftime shows with maybe some commentators showing, pointing out some of the symbolism. And there used to be a lot of things like that on YouTube that you could find.
Mm-hmm.
I tried searching in YouTube's search function for things like Illuminati's Super Bowl halftime ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And then I searched the names of different performers, and it would pull me up the videos of those performers. But you used to pull up, a video of like a little preacher sitting behind a table, and he would
Oh,
tell
like
you,
40 of them.
yeah, yeah, and there would
Yeah.
be tons of those, and there were also, just produced videos with like computer voices or just a guy's voice while he showed you different symbolism. He'd show you a lot of the Freemasonic symbolism that we see in there, a lot of the Mithraic symbolism that you see in there, or satanic in some cases. Lots of different signs and symbols in lots of different rituals and performances.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, when I was doing that today, I couldn't find those. So I did something. I went on DuckDuckGo.com and I searched there, and when I did, it found me some YouTube videos that were buried in YouTube, but YouTube's search function would not, even if I said their name specifically, if I typed their name specifically into the search bar, it would not pull those videos up.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a couple videos of preachers, doing some videos on symbolism and things like this, but they were very hard to find way down in the videos. But I thought that was interesting. We've talked about that before in regard to some of the Giants videos, and since we talked about that, I actually saw some on America Unearthed, some Giant videos, and a few more on YouTube. So I thought that was interesting. I thought I'd mention that before we did the episode, I couldn't find them, and then they kind of found their way into my YouTube feed, and they had been there, but the search function would not allow me to find them at the time that I was looking for them. So I thought I'd mention that. So tonight's episode, we're going to look at a few of. I watched Super Bowl 56. It's actually still ongoing right now. Oh, real quick, if you haven't subscribed and liked the video, and we'd really appreciate it if you do that. It actually helps other people find the channel. If you like it, if you comment on it, if you give us your thoughts on what we're talking about, if you have any input. We like when you give us information. It really helps the show. Sometimes if when we couldn't think of the name of the Zechariah Stitchin, the Enuma Elish, the book that he found,
Yeah.
and Mr. Crow there helped us out by letting us know the name of that. So it's helpful to have the audience in here, and we like for you to chime in and join us up. We actually have a Skype call going right now. We see it says 1 of 2 on the call. Is somebody on the Skype? Let's see here. Guest user there, you want to come on in? Let's ring him.
I don't know what we're looking at on the screen while you're doing that.
Yeah, right here while we're ringing their guest user, see if they want to join us there on Skype. We'll pull up. Let me switch.
Well, what I'm looking at, from what I can see
Let me
here,
switch to the other one
it
here.
went away. Well, I saw some
This one
lines.
doesn't have a screen capture. Hang on just a second.
Oh, I
And
see.
then we'll
No,
go to
couldn't see it.
this. Okay. So let me pull that back up here while we're waiting on
Somehow
guest
they can
user.
see that.
There we go.
Okay.
Well, they should be able to.
When was this?
This was, I think, in 2013, but I'm not positive. Hang on just a second. Don't think they can see that.
Okay.
No, they cannot.
No, they can't.
Well, that's weird.
Well, since they can't see it, what
There we
appears to
go.
be happening
Okay, now
is
we're in business. Let me get back over here to this. All right, and there we go.
we have represented here, you think. That looks like a Roman helmet in the back, and then some sort of
This looks
Nordic
like,
helmet,
yeah,
Viking.
and this one
What's in the middle there?
on the top, you got your two horns.
Like a woman or something.
Let's see what she is here. See if we can get it any closer. No, it's as zoomed in as I can get.
It looks like a Valkyrie of some kind, but what's on the ground down there? I can't see what the one on the ground. Is it all Nordic based? Am I looking at the back one in the back wrong?
This kind of looks Roman.
Does
To
it?
me,
Okay.
this looks Roman, like the feather and then the crest on top of the helmet, and then sleeveless, with this these leaves here. This looks Roman to me, or Latin, or but let's see. Get this out of here for just a second. All right, so I got one more I want to pull up of that one, of Madonna. Here we go. Let's pull that up. There we are. And look at that, Tim. We've got these wings back here behind us, and you've got the two
So this is
pillars.
Egyptian based, right?
Yep, this is what it looks like to me. And then we have the connections between Egypt and Rome,
We
from
also have it in they connect.
Cleopatra and
It can. They think that all those civilizations and their upper crust connect to Atlantis and to higher civilizations from there. And that's not. I don't think. I used to think that was kind of goofy, but the more you start looking at Eddie Bravo, the more you look into it, the more you look at stuff like how all their symbolism is very similar. It really is very believable.
if you look at these helmets here, and they do have the Roman crests,
Yeah,
you have the gold helmets and the legionnaire
that,
type.
that helmet right there. Is that not Spartan also?
It could be. I'm
I'm
not for sure
thinking
about
that,
that.
that those sort of helmet predate Rome is what I'm getting at there, I guess.
Well, you could be correct. I mean, kind of all those cultures go back
Greece.
to similar origins. Yeah, and Greek is where a lot of it comes from. But that's pretty interesting. I don't know what these urns represent. Do you have any ideas about that, Tim?
Well, if we're going to use rules from The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, it contains the organs of Emotep.
Well,
Uh, no, I don't really know. I guess the reason, other than the obvious, that this is the Super Bowl night, this week's Super Bowl, this year's Super Bowl, kind of looks like astrology. You know what I'm saying? Like with this being Chinese New Year and the Year of the Tiger, and if you put Bingle in, it's still a striped cat. It looks very tigerish. And then they're going up against the Rams, and the ram is the sign of Aries in astrology, which is in March, and that's Mars. So it looks like, I mean, I don't want to sit here and be labeled a complete conspiracy theorist, but it kind of looks like they're just publicly announcing that they're going to war with China, does it not?
well, this says on ChinaHighlights.com travel guide, 2022 is the year of the water tiger.
Okay.
It starts from February 1st, 2022 and ends on January 21st, 2023. A water tiger occurs every 60 years.
Oh, those are six.
So it says every 60 years, but this says years of the tiger include 2010,
22.
1986, 74, 62. The year, so I guess the last tiger year would have been in
Look at right here what it says.
1962.
Exonerate symbol strength, exercising evils and braveness. Now, see, my overall theory there is they want to make it look like that's happening. But here. Ox and goat, too.
Well, we've heard Xi Jinping, the president of the Communist Chinese Party, he's actually mentioned banned what they feel like are evil. They've banned the effeminate men from part of television. They've banned a lot of American media. They've banned a lot of things that they feel like are antithetical to Chinese culture, and they undid the one child policy, and they're encouraging people to have children now and encouraging masculinity. And they're talking about the one of the reasons that Xi Jinping has said this is because that he believes that the Western culture is a culture of weakness, and that we are killing ourselves fighting over these small subgroups of the population,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of the culture war that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
what people call the woke culture versus what's really most of mainstream American culture. I mean, the woke culture is probably less than a quarter of the population.
Yeah, but
Um,
do you think I hate to say it, the esteemed leader of China, do you think that he knows that that is like most people
well,
agree and disagree with a lot of the woke stuff at the same time because they're reasonable individuals? I mean,
yeah.
do you think like the leader of China looks at Hollywood and goes, "Good God, the whole country's insane"?
It could be that,
You
and
know?
it could be that he sees, I mean, I'm sure he has a pretty good in.
Or does he
I
look at
mean,
TikTok since China owns it and he goes, "Good God, they're going insane"?
well, that, yeah, probably. I didn't even think of that. But I mean, my gosh, you look at a lot of what happened in 2020. A lot of that violence in the cities, and from the perspective of a world leader of another country, especially like China, an authoritarian country, they don't stand for those kind of things, and they stamp that down. So of course he's going to look at that as a weakness too. So it could just be, even though it's just even just people minus forget about the riots and forget about all the violent things,
Mm-hmm.
but even just citizens expressing themselves and being against the police state. This is something that in China, he's going to look at that as a very weak culture that allows its citizens to dissent the way that the United States does.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard to know exactly how he meant that, but
I kind of think that I like to keep it way out there in right field. I kind of think that, and I can connect here using very, very loose threads. So if you want to believe this, you're grasping at threads like me. I feel like they're going to use China the same way they use Germany. Like the, we'll call them the Watchers, the Illuminati. Uh, the wars benefit them. You know, I mean, like they have all their money tied up in these war companies and stuff. So if two countries go blow each other up, they just go to another country where that's not happening. They wait it out, and then they profit as it gets reconstructed through government subsidies and stuff. And like there was a thing that happened. They had the Olympics in Germany before all the Hitler craziness, right? And a lot of people laugh about the fact that Hitler pretty much got humiliated with that because all the American athletes got sent out. Like it was supposed to be his demonstration that the Aryan race was superior, and these Germans were going to kick everybody's asses. And most of the gold medals went to these the American black athletes, which was just funny because it went completely against his narrative. And this week we're also seeing that we had a 19-year-old U.S. citizen defect to China just to do that, and then
and then she busted
she
her
busted her
ass
ass
and
several
failed
times.
miserably.
And if you look deeper into that, it's really kind of like which goes to support my theory that China's a gigantic hedge fund for a lot of illegal activity.
I agree.
It was kind of like the Harvard thing where they were just selling, where's it Stanford, where they were selling celebrity invitations into college or acceptance into college, right? And if you look, there was a journalist, I can't remember the name now. They kind of pointed that they think that their mom or their parents, a high-ranking Chinese group, paid to have her go instead of somebody else.
Mm.
So, like I don't that's kind of weird to me because it seems to me like China would be flexing, like, hey, we got one of your people, because if they're going to come over there and bust their butt, it seems like China does not like having their image smeared. So it doesn't seem like that would be intentional to me.
Right.
So it's just theories.
There's a lot of them, but that's we brought that up again because of the Chinese, the symbol of the Bengals being in the Super Bowl,
Well, it's the
and it being
Chinese
the
New
Chinese
Year.
New Year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think it
exactly.
necessarily
The year of the
represents
tiger.
China. I think it represents the year of the tiger,
Yeah.
because I believe the upper people, like the controllers, they're going on all this ancient history and stuff. So the calendars and stuff that the Chinese are currently using would be theirs. You know what I'm saying? So they're using all this old stuff. So they know that the year of the tiger and the year and it going with Rams, which would be Mars, war.
So I was going to ask you about tell us a
It would
little bit
look
more about the
good.
Rams and the series and
Yeah, it's supposed to. I don't know who's winning or who's going to win right now, but I have no prediction because I don't think the outcome depends. I don't think it's predicting anything. I think it's kind of like the Super Bowl always goes at the same time as Valentine's Day, right?
pretty close. Yeah.
Valentine's Day is February 15th. and
14th.
14th, and that
It
is
looks like it's over. I think it's over.
and the Rams won.
Yeah, the Rams won 23-20.
So there you go.
The Aries, the war wins. Is that what
There
you're
you go.
saying?
So if you want to read into that, you can
Mars
say
wins.
that they're going to announce war with China next month or something. They're going to go. I don't know. I mean, I think they would save that for Republican presidents. It really does seem like the Democrats want that awful bad.
Well, now Joe Biden though he can say to people, well,
they want
look,
Russia
look,
too.
I ended I ended the war in Afghanistan. You know, I'm a peaceful guy. You know, I don't want to have to do this. But we all know, you know, kind of Biden's just kind of a neoliberal, basically a neocon.
He's a puppet.
You know, basically signing the papers for whoever hands them to him. He's even said on camera a couple times, you know, what am I signing here? And
did you see the? I'm sure you've seen it. Did you see the interview of him? I think he was like 40 or something at the time, and it's a video of him in front of Congress talking about, I came here once before, told you I was going to whore myself out, and you told me to come back in 30 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Here I am, and it was like, good Lord, could you be more blunt? I guess
Yeah,
they
he
didn't think
did.
these things like, it's almost like Discord servers coming back to bite furries and zoophiles in the ass. That's the same thing that's happened with all these internet files and stuff on these old politicians.
I was going to see if we got anybody in. We've got one person watching us. To get the Super Bowl's over, guys. That might even be me watching us right here because I pulled us up so I could get into the chat.
I was noticed earlier. Is it freezing?
I don't know. It
I
was
couldn't
close
tell if it was
earlier.
just my phone or if it was the internet or whatever. No, you got people watching. I was just if it was freezing, I just didn't want people to have to sit through that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if it's working or not. To be honest,
At the least, it is recording it though. So I mean, like,
yeah.
but anyway, the whole symbolism being supposedly would be Aries, Mars. There you go. Year of the Tiger. Because the Year of the Tiger is not necessarily representing any country. The Year of the Tiger represents, you know, like you read in the description earlier, energy and excising evils. And you said China is doing that to exercise what they consider evil. But
Yeah.
if we decided to do the same thing and decided to excise what they consider evil, effeminate Western culture and stuff like that, that wouldn't affect the upper crust. That would just be cleansing America of what they would consider evil, and we would go back to what would probably be like the 50s. And they're still in positions of power, so it doesn't really affect them. Their culture's not ours.
I've heard the theory that the 50s was basically all an illusion. You know, it was after the war. You know, the corporate powers that be were basically trying to continue spreading their influence, and they wanted everybody to be happy and comfortable at home. So they thought, well, you know, let's get everybody buying these cars and living this American dream lifestyle, so that we can continue to do this and you know. Who knows? You hear a lot of these theories.
Well, I mean, like the only thing we
don't.
really do have is magazines and what the I guess like pictures that were sent to us through like media. Like I saw there's somebody put a Facebook meme up today, or is an old advertisement with these girls with like big poodle skirts, and it was like games. It was like set it out for a night, and it had like people playing board games on her like poodle skirt. The first thing I'm sitting there thinking is like, why is there 3 guys and 1 girl?
Yeah.
I thought this was more wholesome times.
Yeah.
Seems like it was way less wholesome to me.
3 guys playing around with 1 girl's skirt. Yeah, that's definitely not what we're expecting. Well, we've got 3 likes on the video, so somebody's been in here, but I don't know if anybody can hear us or see us. I hope you can. I typed in the chat to see if anybody was out there, and I'm not getting any response. But my stream appears to be glitching out here.
Well, that's all I was going to say, is if it was
everything is you know, across wireless in this setup here. So if we have, you know, glitchy or spotty Wi-Fi, who knows if it's actually going out there.
It could actually just be YouTube streaming if it's doing it on your device and my device, because you've got 5 bars.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it might just be YouTube streaming.
Well, we're seeing something come across there, so I hope it's that at least that it records it and you can watch it later. If nobody can hear us good, I keep. But yeah. Anyway, let's go to let's check out another.
You brought up
picture of Miss Madonna here. If I can find it.
Was it Madonna? Well, she's what did David Icke? He said she runs the whole Illuminati playbook.
Is that right?
You know who David Icke is?
Well, yeah, I'm familiar with David Icke.
I know, we
I
had a
have
different
heard
time.
that Madonna is some high priestess
Oh, I don't know that. She
of
seems.
whatever cult that
Well, I was about to
these
say
people
something
belong to.
stupid. I was about to say she's too stupid to be a priestess, but I've met some pretty high-ranking preachers and stuff when I was going to church and stuff, and you don't have to have. I mean,
Intelligence was
heck,
not a
far, man. I've met some really stupid doctors before I say
Intelligence is
that.
not a
That's
prerequisite for
for success in
yeah,
any
exactly.
game. Yeah. What you got there? Once again, you got the Egyptian garb again.
Well, you got the sarcophagus down here, or the Egyptian headdress rather, down here at the bottom of the screen in front of her, and she's sitting in this gold throne with you got hieroglyphics on it here. Let's see if we can get a little closer here.
Well, I don't read
We've got
hieroglyphs.
DNA. We've got a hawk. Look at that spiral of snakes.
A boot.
These boots are made for stomping. Let's
What's
see.
down here?
Got another double helix. We got birds and canes. I don't know what any of this crap means.
Man, I had the idea the other day. What if, because you know in ancient Egyptian, not just in ancient Egyptian lore and stuff like that, their gods have the animal heads.
Yeah, right.
There's other cultures that have that too.
Yeah.
What if that was just super ancient furries? Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody's got their kink, man.
All
You
the
know?
all the ancient kings were furries.
Yeah, they just like the snake heads and things like this, and maybe that's what the what you call it, the Sphinx and
Yeah.
the Chimera
Yeah.
and the Cerberus.
Man, we're all just supposed to be zoophiles. We're all just repressing ourselves.
I'll tell you, it's funny when you run across in my business, I'll go into places that people don't necessarily let everybody in,
Oh,
and
houses.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny when you come across those things
I mean,
like furry
like fursuit
costumes,
singing and
yeah,
stuff.
and mannequin people
Okay. Well, here's I
are a
actually know,
subculture.
or have known. I have to say have known because COVID has really shortened your sphere of friendships. But I've known quite a few furries, and if I'm going to say people who are just furries, unless they're open about it, you'd never know that.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Mannequin, it
no.
seems like mannequin people would be way creepier.
Hey,
Why would you hoard mannequins?
it's a strange thing. Well, I've never come across anybody hoarding them, but I have come across people who use them in decorations.
Oh,
And
okay.
one time I found there was one behind this chick's house, and there was a mannequin behind her couch, and I was looking behind there at something, and she said, "Oh, that my boyfriend brought that in there. My ex-boyfriend brought that in there," and I told him to get rid of that thing, and I was like, she was very
TMI.
very
We don't want to
embarrassed
know about
about
anymore.
it. But
Wow. When you said mannequin people, for some reason, I kind of pictured that is it Doctor Who episode where all those mannequins are just piled up in the corner and they all come to life and start staggering after them.
I don't know that I've ever seen that
I've only
episode.
seen a couple of Doctor Who episodes. Not knocking it, just couldn't get into it. But I remember there was one where a bunch of mannequins were chasing him. I guess for some reason when you said mannequins, that image just creeped me out to where I automatically assumed anybody who has mannequins is creepy.
Well,
Oh, you're
dang it,
looking up the
I
actual
was
show
trying to find
mannequin.
the movie here.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Man, do you ever like read into some of these movies more for the just like the basics, like when you just break it down, like
A lot
what
of
kind of a
times.
weird fantasy is that somebody just wishes a mannequin would come to life and just be, you know what I'm saying, like or Splash, like where a mermaid
Where you want to
woman.
be with the mermaid?
It's almost like
That's a recurring theme, isn't it?
it's almost like and it's I've started to see this more manifest in like the and like I guess where like the females are having these like men wonder in their lives. Like they want this idea of a beautiful but also helplessly naive and stupid person wanders into their life and they just have to take care of them.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a strange sort of fantasy, but it has to be a common one because they keep making those movies. Mannequin 2, they made two of them.
Yeah, Mannequin on the Move. That was the one. This was. I've never actually seen either of these, but I remember seeing this the trailer for this, and so
I
that's
didn't
the
know there was one.
concept is a mannequin comes to life.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
We've got a token.
There was an episode of Bob's Burgers based on it that we watched, but I don't know um, anything about the movie. But in any case, back to the Super Bowl. We've got
We got way off on that one.
yeah, we did a little bit.
What was that
But
image? Looked like a
no,
giant face.
well, that was actually in let's see. This
Yeah,
was in Beyonce's
that's pretty
performance in
cool.
I think 2016. If you look here, you've got some people say you've got the shape of the Baphomet right here in the middle, the two faces, and
Well, that's also the well, I guess if you
each
look
one
at
has
ancient
one eye
Egypt,
showing.
the horns a lot of time actually represent Saturn.
Tell me
Uh,
about that.
well, I don't know how they know this, but they I guess they speculate that at certain times of the year, like the Saturn can be visible in the desert, I guess, and but you couldn't see the full halo. You could just see, I guess, more of like a horn sort of situation. And actual ancient Egyptian scholars have backed it up because you can see it with the orb and the wings and the sun. That there's all sorts of ancient Saturn worship
It
that was
does
going
look
on
like
back
that
then.
they were able to view Saturn and know they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
rings for
Whether it
sure.
was ancient technology or they just could see really well in the desert, they knew about Saturn and it was associated with Saturnalia.
Well, you put about 8 times magnification. I've got some 8 power binoculars, and you can see the rings of Saturn fairly clearly. Not, but that's not that much magnification.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I guess it's possible in the desert with a really clear sky and really good night vision and absolutely zero light pollution that you might be able to see it.
I
I
guess
don't
the
know.
right alignment of the planets and stuff. Like I guess it would have to be. I don't know, does Saturn get closer? Is that
I
how that
mean,
works?
there's times it's closer than others, but in solar, I mean, like if you're on the same side of the solar system as Saturn, yeah, you can be closer than if you're all the way on the other
Okay, yeah, yeah.
side of the sun from it, and you wouldn't be able to see it during the day or during the night if you were on the other side of the sun from it. So it's kind of always going to be
Hmm.
within this part of the arc, of the orbit where you're actually going to be able to see Saturn. And if you use a say a telescope with a 3.5 inch lens or a 4.5 inch mirror and 30 times magnification, you can see them very clearly.
Yeah.
And if you get up to if you
Okay.
have a good telescope with a little bit larger mirror, you can get in to 80 to 100 times magnification, and you can really see them nicely.
So when was Galileo and Copernicus?
That was Copernicus was in the 1500s, Galileo was in the 1600s.
Okay,
I'm
do they have
pretty sure.
telescopes?
Galileo had a telescope,
Yes, I'm
and
willing to sound stupid here,
he
folks.
was
I'm doing
he
doing
actually
a experiment
the
here.
telescope was invented. I'm pretty sure shortly before he was alive, and he used his telescope to observe Jupiter, and he saw over a period of many nights.
Galileo did this.
Is this Galileo?
And what
He
time?
This is in the
Roughly 1600s.
1600s.
Okay.
Um, he um, he observed that the moons moved around Jupiter. So by making this observation, he was implying and outright saying that perhaps that the Earth did not revolve around. This proved everything didn't revolve around the Earth.
Gotcha.
So perhaps the Earth revolves around the sun rather
Well,
than the
if
sun
something is
revolving around the
rotating
Earth.
around Jupiter, then perhaps Earth is rotating around something else.
Exactly. And
Okay.
he was able to plot, because if you look with a very low power telescope, which Galileo probably would have had a 4 to 8 power telescope,
Right.
based on the ability they had to manufacture a lens at this time.
Yeah.
Um,
We do have
so he was 16. He was born in 1564 and he died in 1642. It is freezing.
So I guess just make a note. We'll finish it out because there's nothing we can do about that because it looks like the Wi-Fi and everything is going good. But I can even tell by the picture right there that it's quite a bit further behind than we are with this.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just have to.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I
Rest
think
in
we're
peace,
dealing
okay.
with the YouTube issue here.
Well, we'll finish it out. We'll just have to.
I'll look at the OBS program here, and maybe.
I don't know, man. Because like it's doing it here, and I've got like your Wi-Fi is going kicking it strong. You see?
Yeah.
I really think YouTube's freezing up, and it's probably because everybody's looking up the YouTube the Super Bowl halftime
Maybe,
show right now, trying to figure out what all the fuss was about.
All right, guys, I'm going to close the Discord and the Skype, and maybe that'll slow things down a little bit. We don't have anybody in there. I hopefully next time we can get some people to join us in there. But if we're glitching, maybe let's get rid of that and see if that helps
See what
anything.
happens. All right, let's see if it catches up.
And let's see if OBS is I
Jeez.
hope it's recording all this, but I don't know if it is because I don't think so.
Well,
So,
it makes it a video when you're
and
done, right?
Andrea DiLorenzo says, "Yep, effeminate Western culture, exactly." And yeah, there's a lot of people critical of that, especially when if they look at say perhaps your military, and
Hmm.
you are not embracing masculinity, which is pretty necessary for the military.
I think people get confused when you start talking like this too, because they think you're going to come across as like a trans hater, but I think they misunderstand masculine and feminine greatly. It's fine. I ain't gonna fall off before you try to fix it.
Okay.
Um, because I don't know if you've seen like the Israeli female soldiers that I know could all kill me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not about whether you think females can fight. Uh, I think it's more about everybody becoming so passive that you surrender in the war, right? Like a bunch of men, like media.
I'm checking the chat out here. Go, keep on, keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Uh, so yeah. But I guess it does come back to the whole: is it really that way? For example, because I know I took that $5 trip to Thailand that I know Moose is so jealous of, and they estimated when we were over there openly that 10% of the population of the men is transgender.
In Thailand?
In Thailand, yes. Well, yeah, in Thailand.
Thailand's famous for, the lady boys.
But when I was in Bangkok, which I can't remember the actual name of the city, that's actually just the name of the region. The actual thing is something else. It looked like it was higher than that, to be honest with you. It looked like it was higher than 10%.
Okay, we got a chat from Help My Dad
Okay.
that says, let's look up the connection with Hoda Kotb and Kiara Coles. Kiara Coles' due date, April 16th, 2019. Hoda adopted April 16th, 2019. Instagram pic of July 19th, 2019 shows Tom Hanks type pic. I wonder if he's referring to, or if they're referring to the pictures where Tom Hanks shows where he finds gloves and shoes and stuff laid on the side of the highway.
All that going on.
Yeah, he's posted some really strange pictures. I have dropped that thing about 100 times.
You got them butterfingers.
No, I keep sitting it on my lap and forgetting about it.
Oh, I get mad because my phone falls off my leg, and then I get mad because the pants aren't more grippy because I'm an idiot. Let's see.
There it is.
There we go. Party hard, folks. Now, is this a Help My Dad specifically looking for this?
Yes, it is. And I don't know anything about this.
Well, we'll write it down and we'll come back to it next time.
Yeah, I looked it up here. Apparently, it was a missing pregnant person from Chicago. Pregnant person.
And they think that,
pregnant woman.
Right, Biden.
In any case, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not really. No, I just said a Tom Hanks type picture. I'm not really versed on that, but I will put that aside though for sure and look into that and let you know what I think about that. Help My Dad. Thank you for the chat there.
I guess to keep it clean, my whole reason for getting you to look up Galileo and the dates and all that stuff was to say that in the 1600s, if it was possible for Galileo to, couldn't ancient Egypt have had telescopes way before then? I
mean, yeah, and if you can polish a mirror or polish a lens to where you can look through it without having too many scratches or anything, and two lenses, that's all you need is to be able the ability to manufacture a lens, and it can be pretty rough and it will still work. Let's see, Copernicus, he was born in the late 1400s and he died in 1543. So now Copernicus was, of course, famous for the model of the solar system that was in with the sun at the center of the earth, or the solar system rather than the earth.
Yeah.
And that was he and Galileo Galileo basically proved that it was a chance that he was right, or that the Earth-centric atmosphere or solar system was not accurate, or at least didn't have to be accurate. Now let's see. We'll go back to some of these. Yeah, I did. Let's check that out real quick. And this is Katy Perry. Then we got 7 up top, and then we've got looks like we've got
shadows.
Yeah, I think we've got 7 up at the top. No, we've got. I can't tell if these are people up here or not, too. Maybe a circle around here. Okay, so we got 13 at the bottom.
6 and then 1 in the middle.
And then we've got 9 at the top. It looks like because
you've got something, but you got some upside down ones, right? Well, that's a shadow.
Look, we got looks like we got 9,
1, 2,
3, and then we've got 13 down here at the bottom. So those are some interesting occult numbers. I really couldn't tell you what that means, but I think that's pretty interesting.
So
we also have
again?
This. I think was 2016.
2016.
Yeah. This, and then we've got the 2 eyes here. We've got this. Each person you can see the single eye from. Let's see what else we have. Hopefully, people are still seeing us here. Katy Perry, you mentioned coming in on the riding the lion there.
Yeah. I looked at what year is this? Do you remember?
2015.
2015. I'd like to go back and I guess look up and see. Oh, she jumped over. What are these metal men? A bunch of tin roof people. What are these pawns?
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting
the
symbolism there.
Right there.
She's wearing the fiery dress.
So, I'm wanting to say it was Mark Passio was the one I was listening to, and he said this. He said, "Mark my words, she's going to come riding in, dressed as the whore of Babylon." And I don't know if that's really what she's dressed in, but she is in a really strange. It's a very entertaining halftime show that I didn't see this year's, but riding on a giant metal lion and flaming suits and then dancing around with a bunch of people dressed like chess pieces.
I actually did watch this year's halftime show because I wanted to be ready for tonight if there was some interesting symbolism in it, and overall. It was actually a really good show. It was some acts from the late '90s. There was Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, who I'd actually never really watched before, but he did a pretty nice performance. I actually enjoyed it. Had a lot of energy and some pretty good flow. And you had what was going on in his performance was one of the more symbolic looking parts of it that I saw. There was a row of 6 boxes. There were either 4 or 5 rows of 6 boxes, and there were guys wearing all black, and they were popping up, and they were making different symbols and signs. But I didn't necessarily recognize any of them, except one kind of looked like a star, and then the other one was like an H they made. And then, but I didn't really notice anything that was like. There were black and white, and like they kind of had people dancing in boxes. They had 3 boxes set up in a row, and then you had 3 cars in front of them, and you had like dancers inside each of these. There was size of like box cars, and then you had the performers on top. You had Mary J. Blige, which she was looking really good, and she was in the middle wearing white, and then you had like Kendrick Lamar, and he was wearing mostly black, and but that was, I don't know, it was if you were into that hip hop from the mid to late '90s, and
it's probably arguably near its. Well, I wouldn't say it's prime. I'd say that probably a little bit earlier, but that was a good year for a lot of that stuff. So.
Dre was in there, playing his little piano part from I forgot about Dre or whatever the song was. I can't remember now. It was him and Snoop. But anyway, I actually really liked it. So,
well, hopefully it means it's going to be a peaceful year between black people and white people, and we're all going to, maybe they'll just allow that to happen and they'll quit race baiting everybody.
Well, yeah, if it wasn't for people forcing it all the time, it would be, because we really grew up in a time where the teachings of Martin Luther King were basically the basis for what we learned about race relations. And be honest, everybody in our area, we really didn't have a whole lot of black people who went to school with us and stuff. But it was like when we watched music videos of rappers and stuff, like we wanted to meet these people. It wasn't like we hated them. We wanted to imitate them, and we wanted to be around people like that too.
I was real confused as a kid that we would always get these PSAs that white people and black people needed to get along, and I knew it was aimed towards us because we were the epicenter of what would be considered the dumb Americans, because we were in Appalachia. And I never once looked at Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and went, man, I sure wish something bad would happen to those people. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
Yeah.
it seemed absurd to me at the time. You just don't have the maturity or on any level as a kid to process that maybe somebody's trying to manipulate you.
Right. Well, we had the weekend a few years ago.
That was an odd one.
Um, or no, that was last year's Super Bowl.
I already recognized right away that there's a square floor that would be Masonic if you wanted to dig into that.
And you see that often in the VMAs and award shows and things like that. Oh, I've got to get on the other camera to be able to
Gotcha.
capture that. So let me jump on the main and
Like I know they said something about like the face with the masks and stuff was kind of like a his call for like he was shaming people for where he had some alleged plastic surgery done or something. Uh, but it was a very bizarre setting. Like he had all these people in like these masks stumbling around inside of like a mirror room or something like that. Like they were all confused, and that
you
was
got a
in,
red and white checkered floor there.
I can't feel my face when I'm with you. If you read
Yeah.
into that, I mean everybody's wearing a mask. If you
Yeah.
want to get rid. I mean I know everybody said that was a cocaine song, but
Oh yeah. Actually, the weekend, that's it's a pretty crazy story because he actually put all his music online for free apparently from what I heard, and that was how he basically got discovered and got huge. They just put it on his SoundCloud or whatever it was, and just put it up there and gave it away, and then all of a sudden he's like within 5 years or something like that he's
I mean I don't want
performing
to
at the
sound like
Super Bowl.
I don't want to sound like an asshole jaded musician, but I mean that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's
It doesn't happen. I mean, I'm
Everybody
telling you right
just-
now, it doesn't happen. Like, just as a musician who's been just stumbling towards failure his whole career,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. Like, I have two people that I know personally that are on Netflix right now. And if that's not a giant leap towards success, I don't know what it is, but they're still living exactly the same because there's no hit it quick, get rich skip plan. And so I have a hard time, and I'm not saying that's not congratulations for getting on Netflix. But that kind of success doesn't come out. It's scaffolding. They have to wait, and you have to keep building on this whole career. You don't get famous from being a homeless person to being in the Super Bowl, opening for the Super Bowl in 5 years, unless there's some kind of weirdness going on.
I saw in the video of his performance, there's part where he basically comes down and it's I saw a biblical scholar. He was showing how. Now, this was after much searching because, like I said, it was kind of hard to find anybody even doing a symbolism video on
Commentaries.
this.
Yeah, there's a lot of those commentary things got cleansed in the conspiracy community.
But I did find one, and it was a guy looking at it from a biblical perspective, and he was showing how the weekend's entrance with the light coming behind him and all this other things he was doing basically mimic. This says we're dropping 58% of our frames here. But we're running at 60 frames per second, but still. In any case, they said that this symbolism was basically making a mockery of the way the scripture foretells the second coming of Christ by portraying the weekend as he then comes in, and does his performance with all the masked people around him and all this other symbolism that.
I guess in this modern time, I am going to roll it back just a hair and say in modern times, I guess you could get super famous within 5 years.
Yeah.
But I just really don't think, and I guess pardon my expression with this, I just don't think you can make it to that level. Definitely not that quickly and keep your soul at the same time. Okay, you saw Katy Perry, right?
Yeah.
Katy Perry had a very quick launch to success too. If you look at hers, because she went from being aspiring Christian artist to dating Travie McCoy to being on the Super Bowl and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't like some immediate thing.
Yeah, it was a period of several years.
Yeah, she wasn't just Katy Perry overnight.
But you do see her doing a lot of the symbolism here. We got with the Eye of Horus. But that's all in good fun. I think she's dressing as an Egyptian character, so. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be in on if there is a ritual. Everything's not necessarily a ritual. And the performers aren't necessarily the ones doing it. The performers and you get into a position like a Katy Perry or somebody who's working for one of these large music conglomerates that's sending you on tour, you basically for the most part, you put on the outfits that they tell you to do, and you learn the choreography they tell you to do, and you perform the songs that mostly other people have written for you, and you know that's just all part of
That's
it.
kind of like voluntarily being a part of it, in my opinion.
Well,
But at the same time, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I'm not trying to say that the Super Bowl ritual has to have like all kinds of laced meaning behind it. I think the Super Bowl itself is a part of almost like a Valentine's Day ceremony, because Valentine's Day was it was a replacement, like a, I guess like a Christian replacement for however you say it, Lupercalia or however you say it, which was a fertility, like it was a fertility festival. It used to symbolize that spring was coming, which was, you know, the birth of everything. And I think at some point in time, maybe they harness energy. I don't know. Maybe you just gotta get everybody hyped for springtime. But for some reason, the Super Bowl really lines up with that same time period every year.
yeah, yeah, and then you've like you said, Valentine's. We've got the ritual.
It's still a fertility
Yeah,
ritual.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
Valentine's Day. Get with your special someone, buy them something special, bone them, make them happy, and then, you know, it's
Check out my cool pin my wife gave me here.
Is that a pen you can write with?
It is.
I was very confused about that. Does it have a vape pen in there too?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
It has a has a little multi-tool with a little wrench and bottle opener, a knife or a saw blade, a screwdriver.
So what's at the top?
That's a glass breaker right here.
What's this? I thought it was a vape pen at first. Never mind.
Flashlight.
Oh Lord, you're gonna kill him. Sorry, folks. I rape.
And
Not me. I mean, I-E-Y-E. R-A-P-E.
and then of course it's a pin.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Uh, neat little thing
What's
there.
Willick.
Willick.
Okay. Is it Jocko's pen?
I don't know.
No, I think it's Willink, isn't it?
But it came with a little box with extra
I
batteries.
think that was a
and,
guy I saw on Joe Rogan once upon a time.
pretty neat little deal. I keep playing with it and dropping it in the floor. That's if you've heard
Don't
that
break
sound while we're in the podcast. Well, it's apparently it's a tactical pin, and this is a glass breaker. So if aircraft grade aluminum, I should not be able to break this by dropping
Did
it
you
in the floor.
know that according to total 100% truth that I saw on Facebook, that military grade is just a marketing strategy, that it doesn't mean good. Military grade just means the cheapest we can get away with that can still serve in the military and still
Right.
take a beating. You know?
Yeah.
So it still means good, but it
Doesn't necessarily mean the best.
doesn't. I think people think like maybe they're trying to sell it like it can take a bullet.
Well,
or
and you
something.
see like that when you say people say like military grade rifles and things like this, but a lot of times I'm just gonna leave it. A lot of times, you know, private civilians have higher grade rifles than what they do have in the military. Let's see what else we got here. So if we look through all the Super Bowl pictures, now we've missed
There had to be
we've missed the most famous one here.
What, 2000?
That was in the early 2000s. I don't remember.
Yes.
Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 38. So that was a while ago. It probably was around 2003. It was the early 2000s.
That's just a guess.
Um,
But that was the event that caused is it the CDC? No, it's the disease. CCC. FCC. That's it.
FCC.
One of those censorship things that's on TV. That's
Yeah.
what triggered the 8-second delay for live shows. Was that event? Probably a couple other ones on top of it. That was the one that put it
Interesting.
into the public eye that need to be done.
So apparently, let's get into, well, for the Super Bowl symbolism, it used to be a lot easier to find stuff on this.
Yeah.
But as I said today, if you're into it, you got to do some careful searching to even be able to come across someone who is an expert, like say you're somebody like a Jordan Maxwell or somebody like this who knows all these symbols and where they come from and what they mean and all this. I'm not an expert on that stuff, but I recognize them. You know, when I see something, you know, two pillars, that's a pretty common thing. The Masonic.
It's three.
Well, there's the Joachim and Boaz, and then there's the space between them, right? Isn't that how that works? Or is
Well, it goes into all kinds of stuff like we have to do I guess we have to do like a Masons episode or something like that, because I think really what I think a lot of that Masonic stuff really boils down to is I don't really think those little brick lodges are really plotting the end of the world, but I mean, I do think there's a
No.
common thread between like the belief system of like the Masons and a lot of ancient societies that crosses
Well,
over,
I do
definitely.
think we definitely had. Okay, so you had it's a long discussion really to get into, um, but since we're talking about
They
the
definitely
Super
had a
Bowl,
lot of founding and stuff though, because man, if you go to those old cities, you'll find some real weird monuments. Like, what in the hell is this? Looks like
well,
a big Mason emblem that says this was erected in honor of when the Masons created Philadelphia or something.
well,
That'd
yeah,
be
and they basically the Masons were responsible for a lot of the founding of America, and then we recently found a time capsule in the Robert E. Lee statue, I believe is where it was,
okay.
uh, and this was a Masonic statue up there in Virginia. They cut into it on December 28th of 2021, and this was um, it was pretty common to have these Masonic monuments all over the country. We had many of the signers of the Declaration of Independence and on the Constitution were in fact Masons. Several of the presidents have been Masons. But if we really look at what Masonry is and where it comes from, we go back to ancient knowledge of geometry,
Architecture.
architecture, yeah, that it was used for building.
Oh,
These guys were master
what is
craftsmen.
it when you go out there and you can judge distances on land and stuff like that?
Surveying.
Surveying. Did you know that that was one of the big Masonic things that all these different there's a lot of surveyors out there. So I was trying to say, and like the influential history people, the surveying was a big deal, which was probably because you had to know how much land you needed to have back
Hmm.
then. I don't know, but
Well, to be able to build, first they had to survey it, and that was what the Masons were initially, is they were guardians, protectors of the craft of building and of masonry, and the reason that was is they were basically a union or a guild at the time, and they were protecting their rights to make a living because due to the fact that they could go anywhere and build, and they were the only ones that could do it.
hmm
The king couldn't just kill them and then have somebody else build him a castle. If he wanted to have a castle built, he had to have it done by masons.
hmm
And they could also protect the craft by limiting the amount of people that they allowed to join and swearing them to
So it's
secrecy.
like an old like Morrowind guild.
Basically, yeah, and it
Okay.
were like a modern labor union, and they were protecting their jobs, protecting their craft, and eventually, as they learned to protect these things, um, they had to set up lodges and set up meetings and have a set of rules that they followed in order to let somebody else in
hmm
and make sure that they weren't going to spill the secrets. And a lot of this is where these rituals come from, down to
It's like old school
giving them the
getting
third
initiated in
review,
like the Bloods or
giving
something, you
yeah,
know?
giving them the third degree. That's what it's called when you enter your third degree of masonry, and at which point you have to be blindfolded and hoodwinked, and they make like they are ritually murdering you.
hmm
This is there's been several masons who have given away the secrets
I've heard some
of
people say
the
that
basic rituals.
they hide some of those rituals, like that ritual originally came from the sorry if I'm gonna sound like a real idiot here for a minute. Illusory, I'm wanting to say, was like a code word for taking high doses of psychedelics back in like the Roman or Greek Empire. Like,
Okay.
oh, I took a trip to Illusory. I couldn't
Okay.
get there. And the way it was coded was it was a city that people thought only the upper class got invited to. And so when people would say, "Oh, I went to Illusory last weekend," oh, they thought they went to some city where they could be given spiritual knowledge and stuff. There's the same sort of theory that came from the carpenter mushroom, which was around the same time of Jesus, that the whole mythology behind Jesus was actually they were just taking mushrooms and they ended up killing somebody who was giving. I know that sounds crazy if there wasn't a bunch of scholars who also read Aramaic and believe that ancient Christianity was actually Enlightenment inspired by taking high doses of Amanita and stuff like that.
Mm.
So that's some interesting stuff. It makes me wonder which would be worse, having to sit through 10 years learning how to get into craft or just letting 15 guys kick your ass one time to get into the crypts.
Although I think you have to, I always heard you had to do something worse than that to get into the crypts. I always heard you had to murder somebody or something to get into the
Probably
crypts.
so.
But they're similar initiations to a lot of gangs. It's basically how they make sure that you're not going to tell on them for whatever it
Yeah.
is that they do because they got dirt on you. But the with the Masons, they also you mentioned some of the older. Well, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, or if just what you mentioned made me think of this. But you've got an older society, the Knights Templar, which are famous
Hmm.
for the going to the Holy Land and basically unearthing the temple or allegedly unearthing the temple of Solomon, and there's lots of rumors and legends that they hid away its artifacts and its secrets, and when they were disbanded in by the Catholic Church there, um, yeah, he said the eye at the zoom out on the
Oh yeah,
stage,
yeah.
yeah, from David Devon Bain, yeah, thank you. We have with what those guys found over there in the old Holy Land, a lot of people believe that it was actually the secrets of ancient technologies that were known as the mystery religions,
Yeah,
mystery
yeah.
Babylon, and that the Templars actually found a lot of the ancient texts describing how these technologies work and whisked them out of the ancient Holy Land, and that is actually why the Catholic Church went after them when they did. And then that the Templars, many people say that they came to America and hid a lot of those secrets over here, and then other people say that they evolved into the Freemasons, who then took those teachings, those ancient technological teachings, and protected them while they basically tried to use the knowledge that they had to gain the ability to go to the New World, where allegedly the Templars had already been, or a lot of people think they have. Went up to Oak Island up in Newfoundland. Um,
Who won the bowl?
who won the bowl?
Was the
The
Rams.
Rams won the Super Bowl. War with China. I don't know.
No, I think it just
uh,
means well, I mean, they want a war with China, but I think it just means if you want to look at it as a good thing and not look at it like doom and gloom, uh the like Chinese New Year really is supposed to be like if you believe in good positive, like, okay, here my biggest theory is I think that most likely the upper elites and stuff know of, I don't know, maybe astrology and stuff like that isn't the bull crap that I called it a long time ago, and that maybe there are natural energy patterns, and maybe our hive mind does unite for certain things and stuff like that. And I think maybe there are certain times when you can take harness of natural things and ride a good current, and maybe instead of focusing on wars with China and wars with Russia, we should just try to better ourselves the way the astrology tells us to right now in this current year. And
well, it's like when we talked about on the last episode. The world seems to move in cycles, and it seems like the
yeah,
people in power know about these cycles and try to use them to
stay on top.
to stay on top and influence the way that the world goes, and make sure it goes in a way that's favorable to them. Um, but yeah, we see a lot of that symbolism of that's recognizable from Masonry. We also see in some of the older Super Bowls and some of the symbolism of it's generally I've heard it referred to as basically Mithraic or from the cult of Mithras
Okay.
more than it is from Satanism, and I think.
Was it Mithras like we're like an updated or like well, I guess a predated Jesus story, right?
Well, I've heard people say that, but I don't think that's
Is that not
exactly
true?
right.
Okay, let's look it up. Iranian god of the sun.
So Mithras, well, shoot, I had it pulled
Always
up.
comes back to the suns and stuff, doesn't it?
The worship of the Uranian god of the sun, justice, contract, and war in pre-Zoroastrian Iran,
And there's
known
war
as
again.
Mithras in the Roman Empire during the 2nd and 3rd century CE.
Oh, and pre-Zoroastrian Iran.
Yes,
Okay.
this
So this
deity was
is
honored as the patron of loyalty to the emperor. Um, After the acceptance of Christianity by the Emperor Constantine in the early 4th century, Mithraism rapidly declined. And Zarathustra, that's also Zoroaster,
yeah.
gained influence in the region during the 6th century BE
That's a
or
very
BC.
interesting religion if people have never looked into Zoroastrianism.
Yeah, there's a short book called 12 World Teachers. I think we've mentioned it on 12 World Teachers or 12 Yeah, 12 World Teachers. We mentioned it on by Manly P. Hall on the podcast before. It does get into Zarathustra and Mithra.
If you look at the images of Zarathustra, that looks more like what the Catholic version of Jesus is portrayed. Like the imagery is very similar.
Well, we saw a lot of sun gods, and a lot of them are mentioned in that book 12 from Akhenaten to Amun-Ra to Horus to is it Horus? Horus, yeah, Horus is the sun.
I thought that was
Ra, Amun-Ra was the sun. Horus was the eye of he was like the falcon. Well, anyway, the Zarathustra does look
that's very Jesus
look very Jesus like. Yes, he is.
And so yeah, I don't know, like it's almost there was this idea that I came across when I was first thinking that maybe there was other things in the Bible you should read. And I think I was online or something, and somebody put up that the Quran mentions that Jesus survived, that they got him out of there, he didn't die. Right. And someone said, well, wouldn't you want that to actually be what happened to the Son of God? And it's like, well, actually, if he got away and had a kid or something, that actually does sound a lot better. I would want that for Jesus. It just kind of kills the whole religion
especially
there.
if he was willing to die for your sins there, they would be
but
nice to
it
take
goes back
away.
into the theory that they were just trying to, the idea of it was they pedestalized Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the original, I think it was Greek or Latin, I don't remember, said that it was, if you want to read a really pretentious book, it's called Misquoting Jesus by Bart Ehrman. It's good information. Bart comes across so arrogant. There's a good way to give people information, and calling people stupid is not the right way to do it. But the original text was telling people that he was a son of God. It doesn't say the. It doesn't sound like a massive translation change, but when you make someone the son of God, not just a son of God, it makes them reach a position that other lowly people are never allowed to reach again, which is the person that gets to look at the king and go, hey, you're wrong, buddy. And so it's almost like they keep making, they keep pedestalizing people that do that, and it seems like they really do that in modern authority, like modern day times. Like, they try to make it out like Johnny Cash was really cool with corporate people and stuff like that, even though he did like some Taco Bell commercials. And like, I don't like how like they're using the word rebel so liberally these days. You get what I'm saying? Like, why do you want to be a rebel, but it's government sanctioned rebellion? That's just so strange that people don't realize that their heroes would hate their own actions. It's so crazy what they get put into.
Well, you mentioned the government sanctioned rebellion, and we talked about the chop zone up there in Seattle from 2020. Where they basically they attacked a federal courthouse, and they did things that normally the federal government would put you under the jail for, but it was convenient for the authorities at that time to let it go on. So they let it go on.
Dude, I know we fight about that, and we can go to January 6th and use the exact same story, because you can apply exactly what I'm about to say to what you're saying to the January 6th people.
Okay.
When you go and actually look at the people who invaded the police stations and stuff like that, they all say the same thing. Man, they let us ride in. They were so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if it's offensive, but how stupid can you be? You shouldn't walk into Congress if they're opening the doors for you, wearing your Viking helmets, and you don't do it. They're setting you up. I'm sorry, people. Like, that's why I get mad about both sides. Got to stop. What are you doing? You're setting yourself up. It's so crazy. People put themselves in that position.
Agreed. But anyway, that about wraps it up for the Super Bowl symbolism tonight. There's lots of it out there. If you go back and watch any of the past Super Bowl shows, you can find a lot of this stuff with particularly Masonic symbolism in it. But it
whether it's nefarious or not, it is there.
It's multi-layered too, and like I said, as I was explaining earlier, you had the Masons who were kind of responsible for preserving this knowledge in their mind, and then using it basically they ended up founding the United States of America basically as a home for freedom of expression and thought. As it was then brotherhood, all these ideas that Masonry actually embraces and espouses. So the United States was a way for them to be able to do all this without the church and the king stopping them from doing it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there's lots of pieces of that have made their way throughout history and are still used today. And then you have a lot of people who are a member of that organization who are in the entertainment industry,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them in sports.
Do you
And
think they make them like do all the Katy Perry like? Because you see that all the time. Everybody that's
the
ever
covering the eye. And
there's so many of the one. You think like that those people are in on it, or do you think
no,
that
I think
they're
they're
just
probably,
told what to do? In this picture, do this. You know
well,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's what I'm thinking. I think some of them are. I mean, you got a guy like Jay-Z
Well, I would say Jay Z
who
and Beyonce are definitely in
who
on
they
it.
mention it repeatedly, what the symbolism means to them
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And Jay-Z is I think he's publicly a Mason, the Prince Hall Mason, which is the lodge that was started by Black Masons.
Mm-hmm.
You have there's several different lodges and several different rites, and they also they don't not necessarily like it's like they're all lockstep or anything like this, but they kind of have common ideas, and you see their influence in a lot of different places if you know what to look for. Like Tim said, three pillars, and I see the two pillars a lot. The letter
The one
M
usually has
hidden.
the ladder going up. The third one.
Oh yeah, and I meant to look at the Maroon 5 Super Bowl show too.
Okay.
Let me do that real quick so you can see this. Of course, you had a lot of the fire and the Adam Levine and his. But
What's going
if
on
you
with
look
this
right
one?
here, you've got the M for Maroon 5, and then you have the big V later in the video, which is simulation. There's the V, which is a symbol of the Fifth Age. So lots of interesting symbolism there from kind of the Masonic point of view. But in any case, I think we've done enough about that for tonight because we're about an hour into the video, an hour and 15 minutes. So I do want to go over the few local things that we talked about. Hope you're still with us if you're local.